Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alya Khaira Nazhifa. This is my final paper assignment for seminar on financial accounting subject. The title of my paper is Agency Theory and its Implication on Accounting. There are three parts of this presentation or this paper. There are introduction, discussion, and conclusion. So we're going to the first section is introduction. In introduction, the first is background. Agency theory is the branch of game theory which studies the designs of contract between principal and agent that motive to agent work in the best interest of the principal. And in agency theory, there is moral hazard. And to avoid moral hazard is by providing compensation on some observable measure of the agent's performance. It is often using net income, and therefore accounting policies matter at this point. And problem statement is previous studies have not mentioned implication of agency theory toward accounting. Therefore, this paper explained the agency theory itself as well as the implication toward accounting. Next, we're going to move into the discussion. So the first one is agency theory. As I stated before, Scott in 2015 defined agency theory as the branch of game theory that studies the design of contracts to motivate a rational agent to act on behalf of a principal when the agent's interests would otherwise conflict with those of the principal. And there are two characteristics of agency theory. They are cooperative and non-cooperative. Agency costs. Agency costs are one of the internal costs attached with the agents that occur due to the misalignment of the interest between the agent and the principal. There are three kinds of agency costs. The first one is monitoring costs. Monitoring costs are the costs associated with the monitoring and assessing the agent's performance in the firm. The second is bonding cost. Bonding costs occur when the agent did not work based on the principal's interest, even after the close monitoring has been done. The last one is residual loss. The decision made by the managers may not be aligned to maximize the wealth of the firm, and that inefficient managerial decision lead to a loss that called as residual costs. There are 5 ways to deal with agency problems. The first one is managerial ownership. Second is executive compensation. The third one is debt. The fourth is dividends. And the fifth is board of directors. Limitations of agency theory. The first one is the contractual agreement between the principal and agent for a limited and unlimited future period, but the future is uncertain. The second is in shareholders' interest is only to maximize the return, but only limited to the firm. The roles of directors are also limited to monitor the manager, and further role is not clearly defined. The third one is the theory also assumes that contracting can eliminate the agency problem, but in circumstances, it faces many hindrances like information asymmetry, rationality, fraud, and transaction cost. The last one is the theory also consider that managers are opportunistic without considering the competence of managers. Implications of agency theory to accounting. The first one is 2 better than 1. So Hallstrom in 1979 discussed the composition based on more than one performance measure. Usually it just takes net income, but Hallstrom suggests that it is not only net income to measure the performance. The performance measure characteristic must be sensitivity and precision. But the characteristics needed by the net income is to be sensitive and precise in performance measure are not necessarily the same as those needed if it's to be a useful input into investment decision. So that is the weakness of a two performance measure. suggested by Holstrom. And rigidity of contract. Rigidity means kekakuan in Indonesia. So when there is a rigidity of contract, it is virtually impossible to anticipate any contingencies and possible states of nature or enter into contracts. And renegotiation abilities can reduce manager motivation to act in the owner's best interest. And unforeseen state realizations impose cost to firm or manager. So the last part of this paper is conclusion. Overall, agency theory has been applied for many years and there are still limitations in the application and some need to be improved. Also, when taking into agency contract, there has to be considerations related to the accounting policies so the contract rigidity can be reduced. So that's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention. I hope you liked my presentation and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.